Welcome all of you, dear students. Today we are going to discuss one of the outstanding analytical technique which is widely used, and that is chromatography. Also we are going to discuss about one of the type of chromatography in which paper plays a magical role in separation process, and that type is paper chromatography. So before moving further, we need to discuss about some basic things of chromatography. So chromatography is one of the old technique but is not outdated. It is still used, widely used, one of the reliable technique, good technique, and which is used for separation purpose. So motive and intention of implementing chromatography, that is separation. So it is very useful in separation of samples which contains variety of solutes, components, and also useful in pharma sector, laboratory sectors, and everywhere. So it is one of the useful technique. So before moving further, so we'll have a short animated video which will show us how the stationary phase is, how the mobile phase is, and how the separation process takes place. It is a rough presentation, but it will impart us quite good idea about chromatography. So let's have a video. So in this technique, the mixture is separated by repeated distribution of analyte between stationary phase and mobile phase. So there is a repeated distribution of analyte between these two phases. One of them is mobile phase, and second one is stationary phase. So we'll come back to this point after some further points. So now next we'll see that what is stationary phase. So as we know that in chromatography there are two phases involved and they are playing vital role in separation. These two phases are, one is stationary phase and second one is mobile phase. So what is the stationary phase? It is an phase which remains steady, fixed, and will not move from one end to other, will not travel from one place to other. So it is fixed at one end and it acts as, or it functions as sorbent for analyte. That means it will hold analyte on its surface. It will retard the movement of analyte over its surface. Next we have that is mobile phase. So it is a phase which moves over the stationary phase. So it is an phase which is mobile, which will move or travel from one end to other. It may move from top to bottom also, or from bottom to top also. It depends upon the type of chromatography. But it is very clear that, and word itself indicates that the phase which is mobile one, which can move from one place to other, is mobile phase. And its function now. So what is the function of mobile phase? It carries solute or analyte with it. That means as the mobile phase travels forward, the solute will also go along with it, and it depends upon the attraction between analyte and mobile phase. So now we'll come back to the second statement. In this technique, mixture is repeatedly distributed between stationary phase and mobile phase. So these are the two phases in which the analyte is going to get distributed. So now interaction of analyte with stationary phase and mobile phase. So this is one of the type process, that is interaction of analyte between or with stationary phase and mobile phase. So this is a basic factor for separation. So by this process the separation takes place, and these interactions may be having chemical nature or they may be of physical nature, or and they depend upon nature of analyte, stationary phase and mobile phase. So what is the basic thing behind separation? It is an interaction of solute or analyte with mobile phase and with stationary phase. On this basis the separation will take place. So next we have, that is mobile phase. What does the mobile phase do and what does the stationary phase do? How they function or which kind of forces they imply on solute or analyte. So mobile phase gives driving force to the analyte, which drives the analyte forward. And what does the stationary phase do? The stationary phase do or does the complete opposite activity. That means it retards the movement of analyte. It holds analyte on its surface. By this way, the movement of analyte becomes slower. So these are the two forces which are exerted by these two phases on analyte, and they are working quite opposite of each other. And these are the forces which helps in separation also, as like as interactions. So next we have, that is distribution coefficient. So based upon these forces, the force exerted by mobile phase and force exerted by stationary phase, the solutes gets distributed quickly between mobile phase and stationary phase. That means when solute moves forward, it get distributed in mobile phase and sometime it get distributed in stationary phase, and somewhere it attains equilibrium. So concentration of solute at this equilibrium is called as distribution coefficient of that solute, which is denoted by K. So the distribution coefficient is one of the unique feature or individual characteristic of each and every solute. So the separation of that solute or the movement of that solute depends upon distribution coefficient. So formula says that K is equal to concentration of solute in stationary phase divided by concentration of solute in mobile phase. So K is related with the concentration of solute in these two phases. That means stationary phase as well as mobile phase. So for example, we will have two solutes, solute A and solute B. If the solute A has higher K value, that means it will move slower. Why it will move slower? Higher the K value, higher the concentration in stationary phase. That means we know that what the stationary phase do. Stationary phase retards the movement of analyte. So that is why if the K value is higher, the movement of analyte will be slower. If the K value is lower, that means the movement or the speed of movement of that analyte throughout the process will be higher. Why it will be higher? Because the concentration of that solute B will be more in mobile phase, and we know that what the mobile phase do. Mobile phase carries solute with it. So this is how the distribution coefficient is important. It decides the movement of analyte or solute in separation process. So next we have, that is analyte. It is a mixture loaded to separate into its individual components. So it is an analyte which is nothing but an mixture loaded for the separation purpose. So we'll to move towards our next slide, that is development. Some other basic concept, and among them is one of the is development. So what is development? So development is nothing but a process which is carried out in the course of chromatography. So it is a slow and steady flow. So it is a process where the steady flow of mobile phase over the stationary phase is carried out, And this steady flow of mobile phase over stationary phase causes the separation of components by their depending upon the differential movement or depending upon the rate of movement or speed of movement of those solids. So it is nothing but a process which is important process which is carried out or which happens during separation. Next we have elution. Elution is nothing but collection of eluted solvent or collection of separated components by washing the stationary phase with suitable solvent. So look at the figure. Here are the three columns given over here, and there are three flasks at the bottom. The flasks are kept for collecting the eluent. After carrying out the development process or after flowing a mobile phase over stationary phase, it will come down, it will drain down, and along with it will bring solutes or fraction of solutes. So this fraction of solutes will be collected in this flask, and this whole process is called as elution. Next we have that is solvent front. So solvent front, so now again we will take help of diagram at our left side. So here it is an boundary up to which the mobile phase has moved on stationary phase. So that means, see at the figure, there is a solvent, blue colored solvent at bottom, and it travels and stops up to certain distance, and that mark, that line or that distance or that place where the movement of solvent stops, that border is called as solvent front. So here we go to our next slide. So here we are going to classify chromatography. So chromatography generally classified into two classes. One is homogeneous chromatography and second one is heterogeneous. So classification is based upon the physical states of two phases. We know that in chromatography there are two phases involved. One of them is stationary phase, second one is mobile phase. And what are the physical states of these two phases? On this basis the classification is done. In homogeneous chromatography, both the mobile phase as well as stationary phases are in same physical state. So if such condition or such type of chromatography is called as homogeneous chromatography. So one example we have, that is liquid chromatography. Here the stationary phase is also liquid and mobile phase is also liquid. So one thing we have to keep in mind, or one thing we have to consider, that the solid cannot be mobile phase. So we know that there is one condition for mobile phase, that it has to move from one place to other, and solid is helpless. Solid cannot move from one place to another, so the solid cannot play a role of mobile phase. And similarly gas cannot be stationary phase, and we know that what is the condition for stationary phase. Stationary phase has to stay at one place, it can't move from one place to other, and this is not possible for gas to stay at one place. Hence it uh, cannot be involved in, or it cannot be a stationary phase. So next class we have, that is heterogeneous chromatography. So word itself indicate that as the classification is based upon physical states of phases, so there will be the different physical states of the two phases. Here the mobile phase is in another physical state, and stationary phase is quite opposite of it. That means physical states of mobile phase and stationary phase are different from each other. So types are as such, that is solid liquid, again solid gas or liquid gas chromatography. Here in first one we have, that is their stationary phase is solid, mobile phase is liquid. Again in second type the stationary phase is solid but mobile phase is gas. In third type we have stationary phase in liquid and mobile phase in gaseous state. So here we go for the another type of classification, which is based upon the shape of stationary phase. So if the stationary phase is columnar in last slide now, so we'll back. So if the shape of stationary phase is as like as column, Then the chromatography is columnar chromatography. And if the stationary phase is having the shape as like thin sheet, then it's called as planar, because we know that sheets are planar in dimension. So such type of chromatography is called as planar chromatography. So now classification based on the purpose of chromatography. For what purpose we are carrying out this chromatography, that is also one of the point of classification. So preparative chromatography we have first, that is preparative chromatography. In this type, separation is carried out to get bulk quantity of product. Here the product will be obtained in bulk. That means the sample will be also in bulk, or we are going to carry out separation of bulk quantity, which will impart us product or separated product also in bulk form. Second type we have, that is analytical chromatography. So it is completely opposite of preparative chromatography. Here the purpose of analysis is just to that is of qualitative purpose, or qualitative information can be obtained from this chromatography. Here the sample is also in small quantity, and product obtained, separated product, will be also in small quantity. So now we'll come to our main point, that is one of the type of chromatography, that is paper chromatography. So here the stationary phase is liquid which is held on paper, and the name itself says that something is going to be related with paper. So here the liquid phase or the mobile phase will be an liquid which is held upon filter paper. So this will be stationary phase. So what kind of mobile phase will be? So it is an liquid which moves over stationary phase. So this will be our mobile phase. And this chromatography is now one of the homogeneous chromatography, that is liquid chromatography. Both the phases are having same physical state. Stationary phase is also liquid and mobile phase is also liquid. So here this is a figure which shows us, or which clarifies us about paper, and how the mobile phase will be and how the stationary phase will be. So here the one of the paper strip which is bordered with a red color. So this is a paper strip which contains cellulose, and we know that cellulose attracts water and which holds water on its surface. So when this paper is dipped into water, the paper will absorb water, cellulose will retain the water, and by this way finally there will be a thin film or thin layer of water formed on this paper, and this layer will play a role of stationary phase, which will be in liquid form. So here the paper will play a role of solid support only. Paper is not a stationary phase. The liquid which is on the paper is the stationary phase. So here the paper will be a role, will play a role of solid support only. So now after dipping this paper in water, so water will enter into the paper, the cellulose will hold the water, and now the second figure which says that there is an green spots on this paper. So green spots are indicating water, and there is a film which is on filter paper. So that film will play a role of mobile phase. So what is principle of paper chromatography? Solutes of analyte moves forward and get partition between stationary phase and mobile phase depending upon their distribution coefficient. And after this distribution, components which have more attraction towards stationary phase will remain behind. And we know that the stationary phase which play a role of retarding the activity, or play a role of movement, retarding the movement of solute. So components which have more attraction towards stationary phase will remain behind or move slowly on stationary phase, and those who have more attraction towards mobile phase will get soluble and will move faster along with mobile phase. This difference in movement results in their separation. So what principle means now? So first of all, principle says that there will be a distribution of analyte between these two phases, and second it says that if and component have more attraction towards stationary phase, it will move slower, because we know that what stationary phase do. Stationary phase retards the movement, so ultimately more attraction towards stationary phase, there will be more retardation of movement of that component. If component has more attraction towards mobile phase, we know that mobile phase gives momentum or carries forward the solute along with it. So if it has more attraction towards mobile phase, will move faster, and there will be a difference in movement of these components, and this difference in movement will play a role in separation or will result in separation. So suppose we have two solutes, so A will go forward and B will remain behind, and by this way separation of A from B will take place. So types of filter papers now. So what kind of filter papers are used? So filter paper contains cellulose which absorbs the water, which retains the water, and even at higher temperature water cannot be removed. So this absorb water produces and film on filter paper. There are variety of papers having slow, medium and fast running characters. All kind of papers are available, and generally Whatman paper number 1 is commonly used, which is having grain size, texture and flow rate, which is one of the ideal one for paper chromatography. Next one we have, that is methodology in that sample loading process. So what first we are going to do, we are going to cut paper in required size. We will dip this paper in closed chamber, and this chamber will have solvent or aqueous phase. So this aqueous phase or this water or this aqueous medium will get absorbed on the paper. So after that we'll remove paper outside and we'll draw an 3 centimeter above line at the one end, that will be our reference line, and one line at the top, that will be our front line. So now take analyte in a capillary or a sample in capillary, and we load this sample by spotting. So we'll spot and sample with the help of capillary just above the reference line, and we'll carry out this activity twice or thrice. We'll allow these spots to dry, then we'll move forward. So here this is a diagrammatic representation. So here the figure number 1. So in figure number 1, filter paper is dipped into a chamber which contains aqueous layer or aqueous medium, which gets on paper. After that paper is removed. So in second figure, the green dots clearly shows that there is a film or aqueous layer form on the paper, which will play a role of stationary phase. After that we are going to draw two lines, one of them at bottom, which will be our reference line, and line just at the top opposite of it, there it will be our front line. So now next we are going to load a sample with the help of capillary. So we have spotted the sample which is just above a reference line. After this we are going to put this paper into a chamber, that is developing chamber, which contains solvent system. So now we'll move towards our next step, that is solvent system, its preparation and what choices we have for solvent system. So choice of solvents as mobile phase, or what kind of solvent system can be produced. So we have choices, that is one of them is organic solvent, second one we have water, and third we can also go for polar solvents, or we can have chelating agents also. So now pure organic solvent cannot be used, because pure organic solvent is non-polar in nature and will not attract or will not separate polar solutes. If there are some polar solutes in sample, so organic solvent will not separate them. So now we have to increase the polarity of organic solvent. So we are going to shift organic solvent from completely non-polar to slightly polar, and we can achieve this by adding water to it, or by shaking this organic solvent with water, or we can also do it by addition of HCl, acetic acid, ammonia. By this way polarity can be changed. Next we have, that is, so here the figure, there is an beaker, and at the bottom, which is indicated by red arrow, which is the solvent system. So here, process of preparing solvent system. So chelating agents can also be used, which will work as complexing agent, which will have a complex with analyte and which helps in separation. So process of preparing solvent system. So how this solvent system is prepared? So we are going to have water, organic solvent, and third thing, we may have acid or base or complexing agent. So we'll take these three things in separating funnel, we'll shake them, and we'll allow to stand by. So why after standby? So there will be a formation of two layers. One will be aqueous layer and second one will be organic layer. So we'll separate these two layers, organic and aqueous. So use of aqueous phase or aqueous medium for saturation of paper. So we'll use this aqueous layer or aqueous solvent for step number 1, that is of saturation of paper or dipping the paper in aqueous layer. And this organic phase, now the organic layer or organic medium, we are going to use it for development process or running the paper. And choice of solvent system completely depends upon nature of solute in sample. Next we have, that is one of the vital process, that is development. So now development, so what is done in development? So paper after loading a sample is kept in chamber, which contains solvent system, and the paper is kept in such a way that the sample spot will lie above solvent level, will not get merged or dip into the solvent system. So now the mobile phase will run over a paper in upward direction and will carry solute along with it. Depending upon their attraction towards mobile phase and stationary phase, the separation of solute will take place on the basis of their traveling capacity with mobile phase. So mobile phase will run in upward direction and will carry solute along with it, depending upon the attraction of solute mobile phase. So now there is next thing, which is a result of development process, that is location of spots of separated solute. So what happens in development? The solute gets separated from sample, and we have to locate these separated solutes in form of spots. If so, now we'll take out the paper from a chamber, we'll allow it to dry for a few minutes. After that, we'll try to observe the separated spots. If now the spots are visible by our naked eyes, there is no need of any external agent or visualizing agent. We can easily visualize them and we can measure the distance traveled by them from origin. If we can't see any spot, we need visualizing agent then. So if spots are colorless, so we have to make them colorful. So we can make them colorful by using certain visualizing agent such as ninhydrin, alkaline potassium permanganate, aniline, ammonia. These reagents will react with these spots and the product of this reaction will be colored in nature, and by this way we can visualize them. So in figure there is red color spot, then after purple, then after blue, and there is also solvent front and at the bottom. So here we go to our next slide, that is determination of RF values. So as we know that it is a ratio of distance traveled by solute to the distance traveled by solvent. It is also known as retardation factor. So what is formula for it? Formula says that distance traveled by substance or solute divided by distance traveled by solvent. So now we'll have a short example to know that how the RF value is calculated. So here in figure we have some important things. At the last there is origin, then after red spot, purple, blue, and after that we have solvent front. So now we'll have one example spot, a representative spot, that is blue spot. So how to calculate RF value for blue spot or blue component? So now we'll place the values related with this blue spot in formula. First at numerator, that is distance traveled by substance. So how much distance this blue spot has traveled from origin, that is 8 centimeter. And what is the distance traveled by solvent front? That is 10 centimeter. So by placing these values in formula, that is 8 divided by 10, the answer will be below 1. And one thing you should remember, that RF value is always below 1. So whatever the answer is, that will be a RF value for blue spot. So by this way we can calculate RF values for purple spot also, purple component, and red component also. So now what is the significance for RF value? So RF value is influenced by many factors such as quality, dimensions of paper, solvent system, and environmental temperature also. So what is its significance? So significance is that RF value is one of the unique characteristic of each and every individual component, and it gives us an important information about its identity. So it is very useful in knowing the identity of unknown compounds. So here we have our last segment of lecture, that is application of paper chromatography. So first we have, that is, two separate amino acids, peptides, alkaloids, sugars, lipids present in biological samples. That means it is very useful in biochemistry. Second, that is comparison of RF value. Already we have seen in the significance of RF value that it is very useful in knowing the identity of unknown compound. So by comparing RF values, we can easily identify the unknown compound. Third one, that is to study the structure and amino acid composition in proteins. Fourth, in clinical laboratories it is used in the analysis of serum, urine, spinal fluid, hemoglobin, etc., which helps in diagnosis of various diseases. Fifth one, to know the composition of metal ions in minerals. So we know that minerals are found in mines, and it is very necessary to know their composition. So this can be done by with the help of paper chromatography. So these were the few important applications of paper chromatography. So that's all for today. So thanks a lot.